Welcome into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, powered by your Front Range Toyota dealerships. We got Megan, we got Eric, we got Rudo coming to you live on a Friday in August. When you're this far into the offseason, you got to have a little bit of fun with some of your shows. So I don't know if I'd call today's show a trivia show, but we will be guessing some players. I had a little bit of fun with this one. I think maybe the lesson from today's show is numbers don't lie, but people definitely do. Because some of these statistics are interesting. Let's call it that way. They are some interesting comparisons. You'll guess some players. It'll be a bunch of fun, and then everyone will be mad at me because I use super obscure stats that no one cares about, and they're impossible to guess. But, you know, that sounds like a normal Rudo trivia show to me. So, should be a fun one. I don't know. Eric, did players ever keep track of weird random stats in the league, or is this purely a fan thing that, like, knows stupid stats about players?
No, you're bang on, man. I mean, there's there are some weird stats out there, but I think that's where it falls into the conversation of like superstition, right? Guys will have those stats that they keep within themselves, right? About I wore that green suit and we're 3-1, or you know what I mean? Kind of I wore that red suit and you know I scored a hat trick or whatever it is, and that's where I think guys, without even admitting it, they won't even admit it sometimes, but they do keep track of all those weird freaking things. And I even know guys that would write them down and know that, you know, like if somebody would start arguing, they'd be like, "Yo, I don't care, you know, that suit's fine because we're 6-1 with it," you know. And then, you know, that's where I see where guys are a little weird about weird stats, because it is, I mean, you know, stats are a big part of the game, right? You know, it doesn't matter what sport, it's a big part of hockey too. And then, but it's funny how you're right. You're bang on. There are some weird stats. Sometimes it's a little overkill, especially if you're not doing well in those stats. You know what I mean? And then you're always going to discard it. Like, oh yeah, plus minus, it's sucking because you're -10. It's like, oh, it's stupid. But if you're plus 20, you're like, oh no, plus minus is good. You know what I mean? Like it's a good stat. You know. So it's but yeah, you're right. It obviously besides plus minus, we're talking about like 30 years ago. That's the only stat, but. They always had those stats internally a little bit, coaches and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. It is overkill, but I think guys even kill it even more with, like, again, food, right? I go back to food. Well, every time I eat a steak, then we're freaking 13-1, you know, so I'm going to eat a steak tonight, you know, so, you know, I'm not going to have salmon. So it's, yeah, it's a little overkill, but there's a lot more than we even know about.
All right. Statistical backing to superstitions is not where I thought this show was going to go.
One of my favorite things was throughout the regular season during Nathan MacKinnon's home point streak, his aversion to talking about it altogether. Like, he would even go as far to say that's something you fans care about. Like, I'm happy to do this in front of the fans, but I'm just not really thinking about it. Only to learn in Vegas, once he had won the Hart Trophy, that he wasn't washing his car for weeks because he absolutely did care about this streak.
Yep.
That's right.
Too much media trading, I'm telling you. Go watch yesterday's show. No, but this should be fun. We already have in the Toyota chat Breckton saying Steve Ott still knows his face-off percentage. A great way to jump into our first trivia one. I'm assuming we're doing them in order, Tiff. I don't actually know. We're doing a little player A, player B. So we'll tell you the players, but I wanted to show some comparisons. Both players, player A and player B, had a 56% face-off win percentage. Player A, a 15.3% shooting percentage compared to player B at 17.5. Player A was -21 and player B was -2. All of these stats are from the last regular season. Both of these players played on the same team. So my questions to you are, and just to be absolutely clear, I'm absolutely setting you guys up with these questions. Which player would you rather have, and do you have any guesses on who these players might be?
Just looking at the numbers, I'm assuming player B didn't play very much.
That would be correct.
And so player A seems like someone utilized in more situations because of the -21. I know that doesn't necessarily look good. I'm just imagining they're being utilized in more high-risk situations, game time, crunch time type situations. So I would, just knowing we're being set up, choose player A. I don't have a guess as to who these two might be, though.
Eric, any thoughts? Oh, looks like Eric froze.
He's thinking.
Perfectly still.
All right. Is this an Avalanche?
It is not
thing?
an Avalanche
Okay.
thing.
That makes it a little tricky. Are they both, this is a silly question, are they both centermen?
Yes.
Okay.
Player B is definitely a center.
Okay.
Player A has been a center for most of his career.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah, there we go. Hold on. We're getting Eric back in a second here, and we'll get his thoughts. E, you're back.
Oh my God, you won't believe what happened. It said, because I'm on my phone right now, as you know, because trust me, I locked myself out. And then it said my phone was overheating because it was on the dashboard. So
Nice.
so what do we got here?
He might still be overheating, but
East
I think
or
I'm
west?
back. I think I'm back.
Okay.
are you good? Yeah. So 2 players from the same team, high face-off percentages, high shooting percentages. One player a lot more minus than the other. His video's still laggy, but maybe his audio's okay. I don't know. I can't tell. All right. No. Looks bad. All right. While Eric is sorting that
Let
out,
me move around. I'll be
East
right
Coast.
back.
East? Okay.
I'll give you credit if you can guess the team. We don't have to get all the way down to the player level.
Florida.
You're close, but no.
Tampa.
Yes.
Cool.
Both players from Tampa. Tiff, the big reveal. Player A is Steven Stamkos. Player B is Luke Glendening.
Yep, I would not have guessed that.
But you nailed one of them plays a lot, one of them does not. So an accurate assessment there. Look, Eric kind of said it off the top of the show. Plus minus maybe one of the most deceiving stats out there in the NHL. Turns out Luke Glendening has a role of not giving up goals and plays significantly weaker competition than someone like Steven Stamkos, who is a more offensive-minded player and plays some of the best competition in the league. So,
And this is from this last season.
correct.
Those are still great numbers for Stamkos. I don't know how much we really talked about it. I had mixed feelings until I thought about it longer about Tampa's decision to move on from Stamkos, and it didn't offend me greatly, but thinking about it, just seeing what he meant to that franchise, I could see why there was a little bit of a sting moving on from him in this way when he's still a really valuable player. The money obviously didn't make total sense, but I just can't imagine Landeskog ever being in that position.
Same.
I know he's in a complicated position with the uncertainty of his future, but the organization has demonstrated such a willingness to do right by him that it just paints such a contrast to how they treated Stamkos.
It's not really the first time with Stamkos either, right? I know last free agency he was available. He did end up going back to Tampa, but it was not hey, we've locked this up. There was no, like we're hearing with Miko right now, where supposedly it's close or whatever.
Yeah.
That never happened with Stamkos. It was down to the wire.
I'm sure there's two sides to every
Of
story.
course,
You know,
of
I'm sure
course.
Stamkos too has some kind of role in why this doesn't work out, but it's really interesting to see that.
Of course, the part I don't show you of those two players, Stamkos had 80 points last year. Luke Glendening, I think, had 12. So, yeah, not really comparable players. But you pick the right stats, you can compare just about anybody in this league. So,
Maybe that's why they could move on. They had Luke Glendening.
totally replaces Stamkos. It's fine. No big deal. Let's move on to our second one here. All right. Both of these players had 23 power play points. Player A had 40 penalty minutes. Player B had 31 penalty minutes. And of the random stat category, both players had exactly 133 wrist shots on goal this past season. These players are not from the same team. One's from the East, one's from the West.
This is really interesting because these seem like the type of stats that paint these pictures more closely together. Like, these hopefully aren't two incredibly weird players side by side.
I don't. What qualifies as weird? I guess.
I'm trying to think what I mean by that. Like Glendening, Stamkos are like, oh, these are just two really different players who satisfy totally different roles. But I think because both these players obviously got decent power play opportunity, they're probably both important to their team.
Yeah, for sure.
In
for sure.
comparable ways.
They're definitely both important. I will tell you, player A is a center. Player B is not a center.
Is he defenseman?
No.
Okay.
So
One of these is weirdly going to be Ovechkin.
I can tell you neither of them is Ovechkin. But on the right line of thinking there for one of them, for sure, Brecton.
East and West.
Stamkos.
That was the first one that you missed, Eric. Good try, though.
Ah, see, I wasn't cheating. Stamkos. Oh shoot. Reinhardt.
No. You're too far south for the guy on the East Coast.
Okay.
All right. I'll give you a hint. Player A, very good friends with Nathan McKinnon.
Sidney Crosby.
Correct. Player B is
Okay, it's our West guy.
Yep. About as far away from Pittsburgh as you can get.
Not a centerman.
I'm trying to think of a hint that wouldn't just like
Give it away.
completely give it away. Yeah. He played against the Avs in the playoffs. Not this year, but the year before.
Jared McCann.
It is Jared McCann. Sidney Crosby and Jared McCann are these two players.
Okay, these aren't weird side by side in the way that I couldn't really qualify earlier.
Not quite a Luke Glendening angle with Jared McCann, for sure. But I think it's interesting. You know, hockey isn't quite the Moneyball levels that things like baseball are. But when you look at something like that, you say, you know what? You can get the same power play production out of a Jared McCann that you can out of one of the all-time greats of a Sidney Crosby at this point in his career. Now, across the entire game, of course, you're taking Sidney Crosby every single time over Jared McCann. That's not a complicated choice. But bits and pieces of a game can be comparable, even if one player is definitively better than the other one. Not that Jared McCann's a bad player, don't get me wrong. Everyone would love to have him.
Yeah.
But
I like him a lot.
It's interesting, particularly when you take that comparison of a center to a winger. Even if there are some similar stats, how much more valuable a center is considered as opposed to an offensive winger in that regard. And I don't know. I thought it was an interesting
The
one.
wrist shot on goal being the exact same.
Yeah.
It's such a funny thing. Do you remember anything else side by side that was either incredibly different between these two or also very close?
So I had to specifically choose wrist shots because
Everything
Crosby
else.
shot significantly more.
Okay.
And particularly Crosby on the backhand was like, shoots it way. I think McCann had like 4 backhand shots the entire year or something.
Okay.
So it's a little bit weird to be how close their wrist shot, obviously exactly the same their wrist shot total is for on goal. But besides that, nothing too out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Crosby obviously more productive in general because he's Sidney Crosby and Jared McCann isn't. But
The only thing holding Jared McCann back from being Sidney Crosby is diversifying his shot portfolio.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm hearing.
just learn your backhand, McCann, and you're an
Sidney
elite
Crosby.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Also learn how to take face-offs, but you know what? Not important. All right, that's a little bit of a taste. I got to tell you, as we get further into this, the stats get much weirder. So get ready for that. But before we jump into that, we are brought to you by the folks over at UC Health. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, especially the mental side of things. UC Health knows how important taking care of your mental health is, and they want you to live like there is a tomorrow. You can go check out a bunch of people who have experienced UC Health, like patient David Schlicht, a Colorado teenager who is a former Olympic hopeful. Unfortunately, a skiing accident caused him to lose one of his legs, but he is still out there living the life he wants to live every day. He gets outdoors regularly. He relies on that and on his family and friends to help him stay mentally strong and positive. Of course, there are struggles along the way, but he says that overall, losing his leg has been a positive thing because he now gets to show people what they can do, even with a prosthetic leg. If you want to hear more about David and other patients from UC Health that are living like there is a tomorrow, head to uchealth.org/tomorrow and go view their videos of a bunch of awesome people. Once you're taking care of that mental side of yourself with UC Health, make sure you're going and enjoying some sports with Game Time. Get over there with Game Time and use the code DNVR when you sign up to get $20 off your first purchase with them. Of course, you can get tickets to just about anything with Game Time. Yes, of course, they have sports. You want to go enjoy Coors Field, go for it. You want to go enjoy the stock show, which I haven't gone to since I was like 8 years old, but you can do that. You can go to the theater. You can go to concerts. You name it. Game Time is your access to the tickets, and they guarantee you the best price. They have tons of ways to save money, but the best one is if you find tickets cheaper somewhere else, they'll reimburse your account 110% of the ticket price. So get with Game Time. Use that DNVR code to get $20 off your first purchase today. Download the app that over 15 million people use to get their tickets. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. We'll see if Eric can stick with us and make some guesses on these next ones. Let's bring up our third one. This one, I went with some charts. I know they're going to be hard to read for my co-hosts here, but I will explain at least partially to them. Both of these players, player A and player B, slightly above average offensively compared to league average. Player A, is player A the 10% or the 3%? Looks like 10%. Player A, solid defensively, a minus 10%, which is a good thing. Player B, only a minus 3%, so a little bit less effective. When you look at the rest of their numbers, player B does shoot the puck a little bit more and has had a little bit more impact on special teams than player A. I can tell you that they are both defensemen, and I have a couple more clues, but I'm curious if you have a leaning towards one or the other, given player A maybe a better defensive player at 5-on-5, but player B a little bit more impact on special teams.
Eric, are you there? No! Phone a friend. I'm just trying to remember the different things you just said. So they're comparable offensive impact, but
correct.
Player A, a little more?
Player A, more defensive impact.
More defensive
Player
impact.
B, a bit shootier than player A,
shootier.
but less offensive impact. Well, about the same offensive impact.
Okay. And more impact on special teams. Both defensemen.
One of these players did play for the Avs last season.
Okay. I feel like it's going to get silly.
It might.
It's the player who has a greater impact defensively, Taves.
It is not.
Okay. Is the player who has the greater impact defensively the Avs player?
It's a player that's playing for the Avs this coming season.
Interesting. Okay. Is that Calvin DeHaan?
You guessed the wrong one.
Okay, Brandstrom.
Yep.
All right. It's like, all right, that's cheating. It doesn't feel really good to get that one. Okay. So is the other one the Avs player then?
Yes.
Okay, love this. It's Sam Malinsky. No, I'm just kidding.
It is not Sam Belinsky.
Cale Makar.
No. Think, who would Brandstrom be replacing?
Okay. Caleb Jones?
Nope.
Okay. It's not Jack Johnson.
It is not.
Okay. Gerard?
Nope.
Manson.
Nope.
Well, I just feel silly.
Played for the Avs last season, not this coming season.
Walker.
Bam! There we go.
Oh, boy. I forgot about Sean Walker.
I thought this one was super interesting because with Walker being their trade deadline acquisition, one of their trade deadline acquisitions, statistically, Aaron Brandstrom does a lot of the same things Sean Walker does. Plays at a very similar effective level on paper. Now, granted, that's Brandstrom playing in Ottawa, not in Colorado. Brandstrom stylistically is a smaller sized defenseman who plays a lot more maybe defense with his stick than with his body. But as far as effective on ice results, I think they could. I really think Brandstrom could entirely replace what the Avs have gotten out of the various bottom pairing defensemen they used last season. So maybe a positive outlook for Brandstrom is what I was going for on this one. Let's move on to what? Next would be our fourth one. I think this one is not a chart, at least. So, all right. Two players, player A, player B, both of them very effective possession-wise, around 60% Corsi, 4%. Both of them were on the ice for exactly 49 goals against. And both of them very effective in generating scoring chances for going the correct direction. Both of these players are defensemen. Both of these players, wait, let me confirm. I'm pretty sure they're both in the West Coast, but I have to
Make sure they stayed in the West.
Yeah, I have to look and make sure. Okay, no, one of them definitely not. One of them was in the East Coast and is still in the East Coast. The other one in the West Coast. Just to give you some easier chance at guessing these. Player B played for Edmonton, and player A played for Carolina.
It's pretty productive, whoever this is.
I think that the Edmonton player is solvable. The Carolina one might be
Yeah, I might have to look up because I don't.
tough. Tiff just giving the answers away.
Sorry, I forgot I was.
So Matthias Ekholm
How'd you know?
Slavin. Okay, you know what's interesting? Slavin I could have guessed, but wouldn't have guessed based on those numbers.
Yeah. Surprisingly effective offensively.
It's the scoring chances for that would have thrown me off. I
Yep.
would have guessed that Corsi 4 percentage because he's very responsible.
Sure. But the generation of actual quality chances
Yeah.
is a little bit different.
That's so interesting.
This one, I guess, is a little bit weird. One to me, I felt like Matthias Ekholm coming into this season had probably hit the age cliff. And that really wasn't the case. He was very, very good for Edmonton last season. Point being, though, you have Jacob Slavin, who's kind of in the prime of his career right now. Long term, he's going to be the better choice of these two. But if you're just looking to get one quality year out of a defenseman, there really isn't that much difference between a Slavin and an Ekholm. So,
And I think it's the differences felt in the impact both had to their team specifically. Like Ekholm was sort of the anchor that steadied that decor in a way that Edmonton desperately needed.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Slavin also does the same thing, but they execute defensively throughout their decor similarly. Whereas Edmonton, I think, has been finding that part of their identity. They've got Bouchard, who likes to move the puck and
Yep.
shoot it, and he does those things well, but also needs to get more reliable defensively. And Ekholm's the kind of person to complement him and round that out in a way that I think Edmonton really needed.
I agree fully. Carolina, a much more well-rounded decor that, not that Slavin isn't one of the best defensive D in the league or anything, but if Slavin's having an off night, they can look to someone else to
Yeah.
fill that role a little bit.
They're all have pretty good responsibility in Carolina.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ekholm plays next to Bouchard or
Nurse
Darnell
is
Nurse every night.
Inconsistent in
Yeah.
terms of reliability.
Exactly. So, a little bit tough at times, maybe. Ekholm doing some more heavy lifting,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The shout out Jay Fresh for the sickest graphics ever. Let's bring him up.
I love this type of chart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So this is player A, a left wing / center, who, slightly under average WAR, very good finishing this year with a good amount of goals scored, has seen his defense crater over the last couple of years. And then player B, a slightly better WAR percentage, just over average, did not particularly finish well, but still managed to score a bunch of goals. Had both players have good offensive ratings, but you saw player B trend up significantly more this season. Also a left wing / center. This one is definitely Avs related. I'll put it to you that way.
Interesting. 23.
She's got ideas. She's looking something up on her phone.
Honestly, just looking up ages, like, could this even be the person I'm thinking of?
Maybe. I would say
20.
they're both definitely more centers than left wings.
That's so interesting. I'm making this harder. Doo-doo-doo. 28.
Feel like this one's a little bit baity because this player's definitely not a fourth liner, even though that's what it says.
Yeah.
He played more than that for sure this year.
28. I think I'm making this harder.
All right, well, for player B, just think of Avs centers.
Is this player B right here?
Yes.
Okay. I think the age is confusing. I don't know how old everyone is exactly, and I'll feel silly guessing wrong.
Understandable. Player A is an ex-Avs center.
XO Center.
Did not play for the Avs last year.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking very specifically last year.
Accurate for player B, but
Okay.
not for player A.
Newhook.
Correct.
Okay.
Player A is Alex Newhook.
Now, the other one I think could be Ross Colton.
Yep.
I just didn't think he was that.
Good. You got
old.
to trust your
I
gut.
don't mean that in a bad way. He just looks so baby-faced. I can't believe he'd be 28.
He can't grow a beard, and he's 28.
Yeah, so that was really throwing me off.
But the direct comparison of,
I like this.
didn't directly trade Newhook for Colton, but essentially traded Newhook for Colton, and then they took the pick from Newhook's trade to flip for Colton. Objectively, Colton was the more effective player last season. Not by a ton, but he had a better WAR percentage. He was certainly better defensively than Newhook. Obviously, he had a 40-point year, which was solid for him.
Right. A best for him, and I think it only gets better from there.
Yep. Newhook did suffer some injury time last year, missed some time. Also was playing in a bigger role than Ross was playing on that second line at times for Montreal. But also not that effective. And you look at Colton's finishing of just 40% there. There's potential for more goal scoring out of that guy for sure.
I think so too. I think you look at the complicated situation with his role. Like when Ryan Johansson wasn't working out, he was given some elevated opportunity, but he was also given a lot of that third line opportunity, and the personnel changed a lot throughout the year. So I expect better for Ross Colton in year 2. And I think that's what the expectation was when they signed him, that year 2 is really going to be big for him.
I agree. With him, I don't want to say relearning, I guess, instead of learning, but relearning how to play center in Colorado. So
he absorbed a lot of responsibility there, and he handled it well.
Yep. Opportunity bound for him to continue to make the Avs look smart for swapping Newhook out and bringing him in. All right. Before we get to the next couple, which are truly the crazy stat ones, we are brought to you by Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Go over there. Over 350 million visitors globally per month on Indeed. So you can definitely find people to hire when it comes to Indeed, according to their internal data. And they do more than just find you employees or employers, depending on what side you're on. They match you with the best possible options. 93% of employers agree that Indeed got the best possible options for their job applications out to them with their matching system, according to an Indeed survey. So get with them, ditch the busy work, use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can faster connect with your candidates. Get over to Indeed.com/AllCity today, and you'll get a $75 sponsored job credit thanks to us here at AllCity. Again, Indeed.com/AllCity. Let them know this podcast sent you over there. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And once you're all hired up through Indeed, go down, make sure you can get yourself to work in a nice Toyota from your Front Range Toyota dealerships. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. You can get 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles if you're a Colorado local here and you like going up into the mountains or off-roading or whatever it might be. They also have 16 different hybrid vehicles if you're eco-conscious. A vehicle for everyone. Trucks like the Tundra and the Tacoma, SUVs like the 4Runner, even sedans like the Corolla. Whatever it might be, you can fit into a Toyota. So go get yours today. Get into the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche at your Front Range Toyota dealerships, which include AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Are we really starting to get on the crazy ones, or is the first one sort of reasonable? Okay, this one's the goalie one. This one isn't that crazy, but honestly, I'm not even that worried about guessing the players. I just want to show how dumb wins as a goalie stat is. Two goalies that are almost identical statistically when it comes to goals against average and save percentage. One of them has 35 wins. One of them has 19 wins. And they both played similar game totals.
Cool.
I didn't put it on here, but they both played around 50 games.
Is player B Swayman?
No.
Okay.
They both play on the West Coast. Different teams. Our buddy Eric talked to player B not that long ago.
Decord.
Yep.
Cool.
And then player A plays for a Canadian team.
Demko?
Yep.
Cool.
And I really like Demko. Decord, obviously a little bit of a newer guy on the scene, but that's a tough one for me, man, because again, Decord really played quite well this year. His record looks bad. Demko also played quite well. His record looks really good.
It's a reflection. I don't like what I'm about to say, but it's a reflection too of the cohesion of the group in front of them. And Vancouver had an enchanted regular season.
Yep.
It's not to take away from Demko finally being healthy and also coming into his own in that way, but Decord, Seattle's kind of figuring out what they want to be after that playoff run wherein they saw the Avs. They just really changed as a group. They lost important pieces and didn't really replenish depth in a meaningful way, and I think that showed in the team that played in front of Joey Decord this last year.
Yep. So the next time someone talks about how Georgiev led the league in wins, I'm going to show them this graphic and be
It's
like,
a tough stat, right? Because you want to celebrate that as
Yeah,
an Avs fan.
of
That's
course.
excellent. But you also watch Georgiev with frustration throughout the year, and those wins did not always feel so good.
and again, I'm not going to stunt on Georgiev. We did plenty of that last season, and then he played well in the playoffs. But
Absolutely.
this is more so stunting on the fact that wins is not a goalie stat; it's a team stat. It honestly, all stats are hard with goalies, right? Because if you play better defense, it's easier to give up less goals against and have a better save percentage. So, I don't know. If you had to pick Demko or Decord, who's your starter?
For future, like if I'm a team that has a pretty open window, I want Decord.
I'm here for it.
And it's just the youth and the future projection, I think, looks good with Demko. Unfortunately, injury
Yeah.
has proven to be such a concern year after year that it's a gamble. I think that Joey Decord's trajectory is the safer bet.
Look, the Avs know all too well when a guys start getting injured multiple years in a row, especially as a goaltender, it's tough.
Yeah.
Francouz just could never get healthy.
Grubauer even dealt with injury, and it
True.
just put them in really difficult positions.
Yep. It obviously wish the best for him. Hope he can stay healthy, but
I do too. That's still a story I'm rallying around for Vancouver, for
Yep.
just to really see what Demko's made of. Like the regular season was great, but of course he gets robbed in the playoffs of that opportunity because of injury.
yeah, and that's if you can't stay healthy for the playoffs, it's hard to hold
It's
down
hard,
a job.
'cause
Yeah.
I think that Edmonton-Vancouver series could have gone either way. They lose, Vancouver that is, loses Besser and Demko.
Yeah.
I don't think this is an easy path to the cup for Edmonton in that case.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, the guy played well, but Edmonton went through Artur Shilovs in that
He stepped
series.
up. I love that, but also that wasn't.
Here you go, bud.
Their
Here's
best.
Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the
that's a
playoffs.
really
Good
tough
luck.
Baptism to NHL playoffs opposite Draisaitl and McDavid. And
Yeah, that series was always supposed to go one way with him in net, so it is what it is. All right, let's do one of the crazy stat ones.
Part of the typo. It's the point plus 12.
I see. Yeah, all right. Player A, player B. This one isn't that crazy. I guess it's just the last one I did that was crazy. Both had 25 points this year. One was plus 11, one was plus 12. And one played a minute 59 PK, the other played 235.
like on average? Or
Per game, yeah.
Per game? Okay. Logan O'Connor?
It is not LOC,
'Kay.
but I also don't remember who it is, so I have to go
Cool.
look it up. Okay, all right. One of them is an Av, though.
Cool.
They're defensemen.
Okay. Sam Gerard.
Nope.
Okay. Josh Manson.
Yep, player B is Josh Manson. Doesn't matter. Their stats are the same. Player B played for Edmonton. I really liked Edmonton players in this, apparently.
Interesting. Okay. I'm not trying to look up points totals or anything. I'm just trying to make sure I have all the defensemen in front of
Yeah,
me.
all good. I trust you not to cheat too much. Unlike chat, who will definitely cheat and just look everything up.
Let's see. Interesting.
I feel like this comparison makes Josh Manson look bad.
Oh no. Okay. I'm gonna see Cody Ceci.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't look up. I was just looking at the roster.
You're good. I no fouls committed on this one. Here was my thinking with this, and I didn't want to make Manson look bad, but I know a lot of people really hate Cody Ceci. The thing with Cody Ceci is he's fine when you play him in the correct role. And I think that's true of Josh Manson as well. If you're asking Josh Manson to go be a top 2 defenseman for you, he's going to get cooked. It's just the reality of the situation. But when you ask him to be a number 4, a number 5, he can be that physical presence with quality D, and he's never going to be perfect, but he has enough flair in his offensive game to give you a 25-point season that he can be effective down your lineup. It's just there are some hard limitations to these types of players on your defense. So,
And I think, what Manson has is what Boston paid a premium for in Zadorov.
Yep.
And it's that physical edge, that meanness. And it's not to say that Cody Ceci isn't a tough customer. It's really notable in Manson's game. And it's not every stay-home defenseman is built with that quality in them.
For sure.
So I know these numbers don't necessarily paint the prettiest picture, but I think everybody's taking Manson in that situation.
No doubt at all. Particularly, as we've talked about so often on this podcast, when you're the Avs, Manson is the one kind of unique guy in that regard when it comes to that level of physicality that certainly Cody Ceci doesn't bring to the same level at all. So, once again, if you pick 3 statistics, you can compare just about anybody and make them look similar without looking at the whole picture. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, which is something I want to emphasize because
this is a good lesson for the internet.
A lot of people do this. And I do it at times because I'm not going to write every single advanced stat of a guy in a tweet when I'm comparing them. But a lot of people love to say, well, look at these 2 players. One of them is such a better expected goals for. And it's like, yeah, okay. That does tell you something. But if you take that stat alone in a vacuum, it doesn't mean a whole lot. You have to look at the entire picture of a player to really assess their game, as opposed to this one stat says I'm right. So,
It's a confirmation bias issue that I run into with players that I really like.
Yep.
I will cherry pick stats that reinforce why I like them. Like, this supports the things I'm saying I like about this player, and I'm also neglecting to mention some of the pitfalls of this player.
Yep. And everybody does it to a certain extent, but there is no perfect system either. You look at Jay Fresh's things that give you WAR percentages. Those aren't perfect either. There are weights to every statistic, and some people are going to weight statistics differently than others. So you always have to take it with a grain of salt, and you always have to checks and balances, I guess. The eye test isn't meaningless either. You have to be able to see what's happening on the ice as well. So those things do matter. Yeah, all right. We do have 2 more, and I promise these ones are actually the crazy stat ones because I looked these ones up.
Oh, boy.
This is as much, like, the players will be who the players will be, whatever. Before we actually get into them, I don't want to dunk on the NHL too much, but feels like the NHL spent a ton of money on player tracking and then gave us a bunch of stats that don't feel that meaningful. And not that there isn't cool stuff on there. Not these guys, but the next guys. We'll talk about things like, hey, speed bursts, miles per hour.
Yeah.
There are some useful stats in there, but then there's a lot of tracking stuff like this. Okay, his average shot speed is 65 miles per hour. I don't really know that you can take a whole lot from a statistic like that.
Yeah, especially given the different types of shots warranted in different situations, It's going to really skew the necessary speed. And so you're right. I don't know that I would find that too meaningful.
Right, exactly, because, yeah, it turns out a guy stepping into a one-timer, the puck's going to get shot a lot harder than a guy flipping a backhand into the net. Like,
right.
There's not enough context to really understand there. For these 2 players, they're both capable of shooting the puck extremely hard. Their max shot speed over 100 miles per hour. For the record, 65 miles per hour and 67 miles per hour for average shot speed. Both are above the 90th percentile in the NHL. So they are quite capable of shooting the puck hard. And they both scored 11 goals each this past season. They're both defensemen. One of them is a name you will definitely know, and one of them was a breakout defenseman from last season.
Is it Forsling?
It is not Forsling.
Breakout defenseman. One of them a name I will definitely know.
Yep. He's older.
Hedman?
Nope. Not that old. Actually, I don't know which one of them is older. Let me look. Same country, though.
Larson.
Nope.
Okay.
Hedman's 33. I thought he was a little older than that. No, he is older than Hedman. Barely, but he is.
Really?
Yep.
I'm not going to...
Plays for Pittsburgh.
Okay. I feel like I'm cheating because I'll just pick the Swedish guy that plays for Pittsburgh.
You'll see his name and you'll be like, oh,
I'll feel
all
silly.
right.
I'll
Yeah,
feel
got
silly.
it.
All right, let's see. I'm sure it's in chat already.
Nope, I haven't seen chat guess it yet. It's not
There's still a
Wi-Fi.
chance. DDD.
Yeah, someone made fun of his last name because it's just a bunch of letters. Someone's like, it's like a Wi-Fi password.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's the best nickname for him ever.
Chat's on the case.
Eric Carlson?
Yep.
Really?
Eric Carlson. Yep.
Interesting.
I know. You don't really think of him as a heavy shot guy. But.
No, I definitely wouldn't have.
And then the other one, which you will never guess in a million years, is Mike Matheson.
Okay, no.
So.
Full respect to Mike Matheson. Would not have guessed.
But that's kind of my point is Matheson had a 62-point season, a breakout offensive year, something that, unless you're paying pretty close attention to Montreal, is something that's going to fly under the radar for a lot of hockey fans. And then Eric Carlson is a pretty well-known name around the NHL at this point, even if he is starting to get a little bit older and isn't the insanely elite player that he used to be in his prime.
11 goals for Mike Matheson.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. He had a monster season, and Montreal looks really smart with him in the lineup. But, Montreal still has a lot of work to do, so fun, but Mike Matheson does not a team make, even if he might be better than Eric Carlson today. Not through his career, but today. And then we have one final one, which is all about skating. I feel like these ones are a little bit of weird players, but both over 23 mile per hour top speeds, both right around 335 20 mile per hour plus bursts, and then both of them skate about 10 miles a game. Let me look it up and give you some teams so you have a chance, even though you don't have a chance.
Even though you don't have a chance. Do you know where the miles skated per 60 ranked compared to other skaters?
I don't off the top of my head. Player A played for Columbus. Player B played for the Islanders.
Ooh.
And if I'm not crazy, I might be crazy.
Fantilli.
It is not Fantilli. Am I dumb? I feel like I'm dumb. Hang on, I'm looking up a thing so I don't say something that's just actually wrong. Okay, yeah, no, that just would have been wrong. So glad that I didn't say that, and we'll never talk about it again.
And we'll never talk about it again.
Chat got one of them. Player B, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, player B is Matt Barzal.
Matt Barzal. Okay. Not Sillinger. Ken Johnson.
Nope. Player A is a weird one, not one you would think. For a one like this. Allegedly, the Avs had interest in him at one point.
Boone Jenner?
No.
Okay.
think he's on a really long contract. Not that that would help you solve it or anything.
Are they both forwards?
They are both forwards.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, did I say Columbus? I'm dumb. That's his old team. He plays for Montreal. Has played for Montreal for 4 years.
Okay.
So I was setting you up for bait there. Yeah.
Big C on the chest.
Yeah, you know, he played for Columbus for like 6 years. So sometimes I'm dumb.
I saw it. I was like, yeah, totally. I'm literally looking at it right now. Columbus.
Man, he really did not have a good year last year either. I didn't even look at that. Ooh. What's his best year? Yeah, he had that one really good year in Columbus, and that was really it for him. Injury prone, I suppose.
Dvorak?
No, it is number 17, though.
Number 17. Number.
Josh Anderson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Whatever his name is. It's fine.
Yeah. This is a weird one.
Yeah, I tried to pick two players that were about as different as I could think of. Josh Anderson, more of a power forward, grindy type of player that maybe never quite reached his potential. Matt Barzal, much more of a skill style player, more of a pass first type of guy that has been a center in the island his entire career. And yet, both of them have pretty similar skating statistics. I know, right? It's hard to believe that. Honestly, a lot of people don't think of Matt Barzal as a great skater either, but both of them can move. They're both in the top 10% or the top 10 skaters for max speed. So, no Nathan McKinnon breaking the 24-mile-per-hour barrier.
Wow, yeah. He's a
but-
big boy, too, Anderson. Is he really flying around like that? That's a good question.
Apparently, he's not producing particularly well,
Okay.
but only put
He's
up 20 points.
Flying.
That's
The abs had interest in him.
Big,
then they got Miles Wood instead, so
big and fast.
solves the same position there. Anyway, I think NHL Edge just has a bunch of stupid stats. That's
But
my
some
take.
cool ones
Some cool ones
too.
too. I agree.
The speed ones, even though there's a bit of range in what they're measuring the speed for, has been helpful to evaluate where a player's at in this stage of their career. Because there are guys like Parise who you wouldn't have expected to have decent speed at this stage in his career, but it fared well compared to the whole entire league
True.
for his age,
Yep.
according to NHL Edge.
It's weird to me because I agree. I think the speed ones are great. I don't care how many miles a guy skated in a hockey game.
I like to use it to like maybe decide motor a little bit. Like are they moving up and down the ice?
Sure, I mean,
Scootin'
I guess
and
you have a
bootin'.
time on ice context with it. It might maybe.
Maybe you're
But
right.
if someone just tells me this guy skates 10 miles a game, I'm like, okay.
Right, he's just utilized a lot. I
Right.
guess.
It's hard to know without additional context there. Yeah, but the fastest skater competition's a joke, right? Like, McDavid could win it every year if he really wanted to try that hard. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Put it to you that way. And then Cale Makar just falls over in
And
it. So.
he giggles and
Yeah.
falls.
So it is what it is on that front. But I figured it was a good, fun little show for August to look at some silly stats and make some fair comparisons, some silly comparisons. I think you look at an Alex Newhook and a Ross Colton, you go, you know what? There's some pretty similar players here. And then you look at a Josh Anderson and Matt Barzal, and you go, those players are not the same at all. And yet you can find statistics that make them similar in certain categories, I'll say, because certainly across their games, they are wildly different players. But if you're looking to fill a specific role, a specific type of option, there are a lot more options than people might think, I suppose, in ways to solve certain areas of a game. Maybe that's where someone like a Parker Kelly comes in for Colorado this year. We'll see.
I could see him ending up in one of these weird player comparisons next year.
There you go. We'll have to do it again next August.
Yeah.
It's always fun.
Parker Kelly and, I don't know, not Sidney Crosby. I won't get carried away, but I don't know, something funny.
Parker Kelly's getting compared to Sidney Crosby. Something has gone right for Colorado.
Yeah.
We'll put it to you that way. Yeah. I don't really have a ton else to say today. If you haven't checked out some of our other content on the website, the past couple of weeks have dropped 2 videos on Nathan MacKinnon. One for everybody to watch about his ridiculous heart-winning season, and one only for diehards that talks a little bit about his 2 best skills, which are skating and his ability to shoot the puck more than anybody else on the planet. So go check out those if you haven't yet. Of course, always support us here at DNVR by go viewing our content, like and subscribe here on YouTube. Go check out the Eagles. Just dropped an interview with Dan Heinout if you want to learn a little bit more about him as the associate coach down there. I don't know. That's all I got. Any other news, Megan?
Brad Hunt is moving on to Hershey. Honestly, I wasn't sure what he was doing next. The announcement had come so late, I worried he might be considering retirement, which I'd hate to see. So a little bit of a loss for the Eagles. He was such a good leader and so great with the young players, but they've brought in some really great veterans this offseason too. So just wishing Brad Hunt the best of luck. He was one of the best people I've ever been around. So glad to see that he'll still be playing hockey, and what a great guy Hershey is going to get in the American League.
He can help them rather chase the Calder Cup defense.
Yeah, I think that's another exciting component because they've been in it each year. So
yep, it'll be fun. I need August to end as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's rough.
We're out here 5 days a week in August, so hopefully y'all enjoyed a fun little show. We are going to wrap it up for today, though, and we are off this weekend. But be sure to come back next week starting Monday. I have a couple of topics in mind, things like comparing the old Avs to the new Avs and asking which team is better. So should be fun, and everyone will be very civil about this discussion.
Yeah, is Eric going to be back in Colorado by
He
then?
will be back
All
in
right.
Colorado for that. So
We'll be brawling.
throwing down on
for
set.
Our favorite
It's gonna
gritty fourth liners.
There we go. Looking forward to it. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.